We have our form ready to go. Let's start working on processing this form and seeing how we can get a function inside of our class to handle the form submission event. And just like we handled the click event on these guys up here, we're going to handle the submit event. We'll do event binding submit is equal to on submit. And we don't have this on submit function yet. We'll create that in our class. And let's console log, are you working? This is to make sure that our form submission works and does exactly what we want. One last thing I want to look at, submit is the event that we're going to look at for this form, which is really cool because we can actually use the native DOM events like click or submit. The problem with this one, however, is that our form will actually truly submit and refresh the page like you would normally expect a form to do. So in order to prevent default, we would have to pass in the event, do event.preventDefault, or there's an Angular 2 directive called ng-submit, just like in Angular 1, and this actually handles stopping the form from submitting the page. Let's make sure this works all right. New user, submit. Let's check out the console. Let's bring this page open a little bit. All right, and we see, are you working? We'll click it a couple more times. Looks like our ng-submit is calling the onSubmit function inside of our class. Next, let's make sure that we can actually see some data. We have this new user property on this class, and we've already two-way data bound it using ngModel and banana in a box. New user username is here, and the name is here. Let's make sure we can see that. Console log this.new user. New user. And by submitting the form, we can see that our new user object is created right there. That is perfect because this object, this .new user, is what we're going to use to send this information back out to the parent component, the app component that holds the list of users. We'll deal with that in the next lesson. The last thing I want to do in this lesson is make sure that we can clear the form every time it's submitted. Let's reset some data. We'll do this.newUser is equal to a new user. And that will clear all of the information in there. Let's make sure that works. Close the console. New user. And as soon as it's submitted, it cleared everything out. The problem with that method is that it actually didn't clear the touched and the invalid properties for our inputs. Right now, Angular 2 doesn't have a quick way to reset a form, so we're going to create our own. We'll use an active here, and we'll call that a Boolean, and we'll set it to true. And we will only show our form. We'll use good old ngIf here, if active is true. Now this is kind of a little goofy, but until Angular has a way to reset our forms, this is kind of what we're going to do. We're going to set active to false, and thanks to ngIf, that will destroy this form and remove it from the DOM. Then we're going to set active to true, and ngIf will bring it back as a fresh form. This.active is equal to false, and then we'll set a timeout here. This.active is equal to true. Now if we go over here, process the form, new user, it will clear the form and also clear the states for our invalid and touched. All right, so that's everything we need to process the form. Next up, we're going to get information out of this component and into the parent component. So far, we've only had a parent component, which is this app component, send information into a child component, which is this component right here, the user profile. Next, we'll look at how we can get information out of a component into the parent component.